Franchise Secrets, Erik Von Horn.
If you're not a part of the Franchise Secrets Facebook group, what are you waiting for? It's franchisesecrets.com/Facebook. I cannot believe how valuable this group turned out to be. When someone asks a question, the feedback is honest, authentic, very helpful, and it's from multiple perspectives. If you're not sure that you're getting the most accurate information about franchising, then check out the largest, most helpful Facebook group in all of franchising. Whether you're a Z, a Zor, a buyer, or investor, join our free Facebook group at franchisesecrets.com/Facebook. Hey, this episode I had Brian Beers on. He's a Midas franchisee. It's been a family business. He's been in it since, his family's been in it since before he was born. And then he graduated college, got into the business, and in the last 14 months, he and his brother have gone from 12 locations to 30 locations, mostly through acquisitions, owner finance deals. So here's a franchisee that's grown through acquisitions, buying a handful at a time in a system that has other younger franchisees kind of growing by acquisition in the same way. He's also building a personal brand. And I was talking to the mastermind a while ago about building a personal brand, telling the franchisees and the franchisors, here's how I've done it. And Brian is doing it. And so that was kind of fun to talk to a franchisee that is in the process of building their own personal brand. But we get into all kinds of things, ownership structure, why buy and grow through acquisition. And we also spent some time talking about his newly hired COO, where he found them, why he was searching there, kind of the whole structure of how they organizational structure from he and his brother to the COO on down throughout the 30 locations, what it looks like, roles and responsibilities and things like that. So I hope you enjoy the show with Brian Beers. All right, Brian, I've saw you hanging out with the Wolf of franchises, and I'm like, I got to get to know this guy. And then when I realized he had 30 auto repair franchises, I was excited to get you on the podcast. So welcome, man.
Cool. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. So why don't we get into a little bit of your background to give the audience some context? You're young yet, 34 years old. You've rolled up 30 franchises, and you've, I don't know if any of them were from scratch, from the ground up. So why don't you just give us a little bit of your background, and then let's get into some fun questions.
Cool. Yeah. So my family's been in the business since 1976. My dad got into it with his grandparents. He was in his 20s, and his uncle was in it in the Boston in 1960s. So I think the brand started in 1950 something. So his uncle was one of the first franchisees and opened a whole bunch in Boston, I don't know, 6 to 9 locations, and just printing money. This is back in the day where, exhaust systems rusted out every 3 years. It was like changing your brakes, you change your exhaust. And anyway, it was a really good business. And so they got into Philadelphia. They started one location. And then over the next 20 or 30 years, they rolled up locations. They opened new locations. They as high as 6, 7, 8. They sold a bunch. Anyway, I joined in 2010. We had 6 locations. Kind of after, the 08-09 recession, business wasn't good. They thought about selling, getting out. I come in, breathe new life, bring a whole bunch of ideas, learn the business. And then in 2016,
where did you get new ideas and to the point where you felt comfortable breathing life into it?
Yeah, sure. Great.
A book that you read, or was it some experience that you had, or what?
Yeah. So a couple different things. One of them is, this is one of my favorite parts of being in a franchise, is the power of the community. And so kind of within the Midas brand, lots of owners who would put together our own, you would call it a mastermind today. Back then we called it a performance group. And so once a quarter, I got myself invited to it, but once a quarter, 20 of us would meet in Dallas or wherever and just hang out for 3 days. And each one of us would bring, sit in a meeting and bring one idea and one challenge that we're having, and one idea to share that's working and one challenge that we want help on solving. And through those groups and through those mentorships of these guys who are all pretty successful, that's where I got a lot of ideas. And then, me being younger, I was 22 years old or 3 or whatever. And, I'd be reading all the magazines and all the books and trying new things. And a lot of it was just changing some some antiquated things. We're paying on sales, but we really should pay on gross profit, right? Like, we need to track more metrics and using Google Sheets and just like some basic stuff, but things that just try to direct the culture in a way that was like sales driven, and let's have fun, and let's reward success, and let's align incentives, that kind of thing.
So what was your role in the business at that time? You were attending these performance groups / masterminds. What was like for you?
My dad was running the company. My role was just to learn as much as I could. So like I was in the stores every single day. I mean, I was behind the counter. I was a floating manager at one point. I would be networking, right? I kind of just, my goal was to soak up and learn as much as I could.
Did you grow up in the business? Did you grow up working in the business?
A little bit. I worked some summers in the shop. I worked some summers in the office.
Did you go to college?
Yeah, I went to college in University of Miami, studied business,
what was your degree?
Business and computer science.
All right. Similar path. Like I grew up with entrepreneurial parents, not franchising, but construction. I worked there in the summertime. And then I got a business administration degree, barely. And then got into franchising. But you did you always entrepreneurial? Were you like reading Rich Dad Poor Dad and just knew that you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, always. I always worked as a kid. As soon as I was 16 years old or whatever I could, I was working in a music store. And then I got into computer science stuff. And I got a job with like a web designer building like, database driven websites in high school. And then even in college, I got a job with a software developer on South Beach doing some stuff. So I always like wanted to work. I always wanted to make money. I was always interested in all that.
Why did you want to make money?
I thought it was fun. I don't know. It's just like, what are your hobbies? Like that's like business is like my hobby. Like I'm now learning how to play golf and stuff, but years ago, like that's what I really enjoyed. It's just like, it's like the chase of it or the learning, like how do these guys do it? Like, yeah, it's a game, it's a puzzle. And that, I mean, to me, it's just fun. Like that's why I do it.
Yeah, I'm with you. So what about your brother? Very similar path as you? As your business partners now, or is it
a little bit way different. He also actually way more techie than me. He went down the like also computer science. He went to Vanderbilt. He ended up moving out to Arizona and got like a job with a government contractor doing high tech security stuff. But then got burnout, like hated it. He was by himself, like no connections. So he came back home and started to kind of work in the business a little bit more. And then, he joined 2014, 2015 full time. So about 5 years after I did. But we're completely different personalities. I'm the more outgoing person, on the podcast. He is, he runs kind of our office and our back end and our technology and everything that's more, detail oriented. That's like his thing. And I'm more the ops guy, kind of like visionary and integrator, similar.
Yeah. Do you guys follow EOS at all? A little bit?
Kind of. We tried it. We're struggling with it for various reasons. But
yeah, it's tough. We're teaching people that in the mastermind, but some people it will click with and it's really good. I think if you got an integrator that embraces it, the visionary will kind of come in and be like, okay, I'll do this. But for me as a visionary, it's a struggle to do something like that.
Our biggest challenge with it is multi-locations, because like in Traction, you have like specific roles like sales, ops, admin, but like sales and ops for us are the same person that oversees a group of stores, like groups of 6. And so just, I don't know, the structure wise, we've struggled with it, but we're working on it. There's things we like, there's things we don't like. So we're just trying to do our own thing with it.
So it's you and your brother. Do you guys own 100% of these, of the 30?
We do. Yep. Yeah. We bought out my
buyout of your parents at that time, or?
Yeah. So rewind a little bit. So 28 or, I joined 2010, 2015, he joined 2016. We decided, hey, we want to start acquiring stores. And so we created a new entity that my brother and I were 50-50, and we started acquiring, all the acquisitions. So we bought, 6 more through that over a couple of years. 2021 comes along. We buy out a guy in Jersey who has 7. That was a big jump. And then we bought another 4 in Jersey, and then another 9 this year. And so we kind of created this own thing. So we were obviously making money on our own in the separate business, ran it all as one, but, and then basically just used the money that we're making to buy out the original 6. So
would you have been able to get to 30 as easily if you were to open them all from scratch versus the acquisition strategy? Like play those 2 different scenarios out.
Yeah. So we've opened 2 from scratch out of the 30. One was an existing Midas shop that had been closed for 4 or 5 years. that we went in and, you have to outfit and everything. The other one was a Pep Boys that was not renewing the lease that we heard about and swooped in and got a new lease, bought all the equipment from Pep Boys. So like everything was in place, but we just had to renovate a little bit. So, the part of it's the speed to scale. Like I think in franchising, there's this huge benefit that you can grow very quickly through acquisitions. And in our business, it's, we're in the retail business. We need high traffic areas on major roads. And so like real estate's the biggest stumbling block for us. Right. And so no, it would be very much a slower process if we had to find real estate that fit our footprint in desired locations that weren't too close to other existing shops. Would be very difficult. We're currently trying to do it now. We're currently trying to find, hey, can we find independent shops to convert, into Midas shops within our current footprint? And they are few and far between. And then you got competitors, like Pep Boys and Mavis, willing to overpay, from our metrics to get in there because it's such a fight. Especially we got zoning requirements. There's automotive can only be zoned in so many places, and so it makes it even more limited than a traditional retail location that can go into 1,200 square foot strip center. That's not us. So acquisitions is the way in our business, at least the quickest way.
You're doing a little bit of like a Roland Frazier type thing. I don't know if you know who Roland is.
I don't.
Roland's, if you don't, you should follow Roland Frazier. I think you'd really, really like him, but you are acquiring these things and getting some owner financing through it. And there's different reasons why you're probably able to get owner financing. Can you talk through some of that?
Yeah, sure. So we've owner financed almost every location, to be honest. The first 2016 ones, we went to a bank for that because I didn't know about it. But then since then, I've bought in a couple in cash that were lower purchase price ones. But since then, the 7 big ones, that was a $1 million deal that we owner financed. The other 5 I bought, this was like a $2 million deal that we owner financed. I'm owner financing a $200,000 deal. Like I'll do anything that makes sense. And so there's a couple of reasons why, in franchising, it makes sense and makes it all possible. The one of them is it's a closed network. So, franchise is like a country club. Everybody knows each other. There's like built-in trust. I can call up a guy in Indianapolis or wherever, or send him an email and introduce myself, and he'll be willing to talk to me about his sales, his payroll, his challenges. I'll be able to openly ask him if he wants to sell his business to keep me in mind. And there's built-in trust. I call up some random guy who owns a bunch of independent shops in Nebraska, like he's going to tell me to, get the hell out of there. So, closed network makes it easy. We can see everybody's sales too. It may vary per franchise, but, I know who the top performers are. I know who the bottom performers are. I know who the guys are older. And so, to know who, is a good performer, who's not, have their contact information and have this network, makes it all just like very easy to start these conversations.
So here's the deal with the Franchise Tribe Mastermind. It's full of a bunch of successful franchisees across many different industries, many different brands, and you get to be a part of that. Now, if you've had any level of success in franchising, you've probably been around top performing Z's in your current brand. So think about that. And if you could do that with 40 plus different brands, industries, franchisees, that's the value in the mastermind. I bring in some of the best speakers in the world. We talk about some topics that will never be talked about anywhere else. So if you're interested in being a part of a group like that, check out franchisetribe.com. So many other people growing through acquisition within the Midas system, or you the only one?
It's all the younger guys, you have
competition. You have competition in this.
Yeah. So and a lot of it's geographic based because it's easier to operate stores that are geographically located. But, I've got a buddy who's got 20 or 25 now, and he's in the Southeast. I've got another buddy in New England. There's a group that's backed by private equity that's, got about 115 between Midas and Big O. Like there's other guys doing this because they see what I see, which are, we can go in, 40% of the system are single store operators. A lot of them are retirement age. They want to get out. They don't have a lot of options. And it's just easier to sell to an existing franchisee than it is to like list it with a broker and then deal with like an SBA loan and like submit tax returns. And a lot of times the valuations, like, if a store is making like $100,000, let's say it's worth 250, 300, like to a single store operator. And I don't know, you know, for us, we can just like kind of take those on and improve them too.
So when you're looking at multiples, like buying about 2.5
Mhm.
EBITDA,
Something in that range. Yep.
in a rough range. What about multiple locations? Is that EBITDA multiple go up, or is it pretty much
It
flat?
depends. I mean, some of the ones we've bought and yeah, we paid more if they're good performing locations. We've also paid less if it was or about the same if
Yeah.
they weren't. The risk, you know, and what makes some of this easy for me is some of these locations like are losing money. Like I'm taking over some locations that are losing, I don't know, $50,000 to $100,000 a year. And so
Let's walk through that.
Yep.
Let's like go into that, because I know there's some other franchisees and other systems that are looking at doing the same thing. So let's walk us through like your mindset around that, how you structure those deals, why you might not do a deal if it's losing too much or you can't pull the right lever. So love where we're going with this.
Yeah. So you know, for us, a lot of those have been, I don't want to say part of package deals, but yeah, I guess they have been. Most of them have been part of package deals, or or it's like a one-off deal. But
so in other words, they throw a dog in, like you got 5 good ones and 1 bad one, or maybe 2 bad
like
ones
yep.
in a 7 unit
you know, or we bought a group of 3 or 4 and like 2 of them are losing money and 2 of them are making money. The net is like roughly a breaking even. And on those it's not a multiple of net because there is no net. We're playing asset value. So in our business, it's, you know, whatever, 150 grand. So we're buying that thing for whatever, $600,000 for these 4 locations, roughly something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then we're taking these on and we have 0 cash flow to start, right? And 2 of them are making money and then 2 of them are losing money. And so, you know, we've experienced, so I guess, so what it looks like for us. Number one, you got to be trusting that you're a good operator and that you have a track record to turn these things around. And even for us, I mean, I had one location that it took us, even after we bought it, we thought, hey, we're going to go in there, you know, within 3 months, we're going to get this thing profitable. Like no problem. It lost $100,000 over 9 months. Like even us, the best, you know, we're not the best, but like we're a pretty good operator and we're losing 100 grand over 9 months.
You're the best Midas owner that I know.
Yeah, we're up there. Thanks, Erik. But so anyway, so even if you have a lot of confidence in yourself and you think you've got this like golden touch and all this stuff, it still can take a lot longer than what you think. And a lot of times it's because the reputation's not good. And in this case, it was just poor manager after poor manager, and the reputation was just beat up. And then even we go in there and we change out 3 or 4 different managers because we're still trying to find the right like chemistry of people that, you know, work well together. They like each other, customers like them, and they can sell. And so we have that now, luckily. But even for us, it took 9 months. And so like it's kind of the benefit of being a multi-store operator, right? Is I can sustain those. I can get a good deal and sustain losses to give it time to ramp it up. Versus like if you only had one location and they bought that same location and their other location was making 100, now they're like breaking even. They have literally no cash flow to like live on or grow, and they're going to be a whole lot more stressed out. And so, I mean, part of it is kind of building up enough like buffer that you're able to, you know, take these on safely and not get yourself into a little pickle there. So, yeah, that's part of it. And then the second part of it is being able to quickly identify what the problems are and solving them. And so for us, like we're in the people business, but we happen to fix cars. And so the quicker that we can identify, like, is the team leader the right person, and is he following the right process? Like those are our 2 things. And so if we think we have a good person, but he's not following the right process, he needs training. And, you know, after you train him a number of times, if he's still not getting it, probably not the right person. And on the other hand, if we have just the guy who's not the right person, you know, we make up all these excuses. Oh, we need more advertising. No, we need this, we need that. Like we come up with all these crazy solutions, but it's at the end of the day, like, listen, the guy's just like not the right fit. Like we need to do something about it. And so that's what we've learned and continuing to learn is the better we can identify talent and the better we can, you know, upgrade or train talent, the quicker we're going to have results. So
what does the management structure look like? You got you as a, you know, not
so
completely accurate, but you got you as a visionary, your brother as an integrator, or just say two leaders of the business. And then what does it look like?
So from the top down, my brother and I, we have a COO who we brought in a couple months ago. Below him, we have 5 district managers. And so each district
COO, what kind of COO is he? Like, give us some example, whether it's a pay range or competency, or like, where would that guy have worked beforehand?
Yeah. So actually we got him through a foundation that helps place guys out of the military who are former special ops. So he spent 8 years special ops, Afghanistan, multiple tours. He comes back, he does a number of things. He becomes a chief of staff to a general, becomes a coach, consultant, spent 20 years, in the military, and applied to this organization. It's called Special Operator Transition Foundation. It's founded by Robert O'Neill, who's the Navy SEAL that killed bin Laden and all that stuff. So anyway,
there's a couple of them out there that are like that. I know one in San Diego that's like that. That's great, man.
Yeah, these guys are awesome. I know 3 people, operators, place my guy and 2 others, and all 3 of them are rock stars. And so, like, this organization specifically, I think I heard they work with like 75 or 100 people a year. So extremely exclusive, like out of tens of thousands of potential like pool. They spend up to 2 years with them, like pre-retirement, like training them, helping them find like what the best fitment is, type of work they want to do, and all that stuff. Because there's huge turnover of guys out of the military when they get their first job, because they think they want to do project management, and then they get out of it and they hate it, or like whatever. And so anyhow, I knew of this organization through a friend in GoBundance. And so I said, hey, let's give it a shot. And, we met him, we loved him, super, great team leader, high level of accountability, very, very friendly too. Like, he's not a drill sergeant. Like, he gets out, he can talk to the guys, he communicate them. He can, solve problems, all that stuff. So, anyhow, that's what we were looking for. My brother and I, like, I was the good operator when we had like 8 locations or 10 locations. Like, I was pretty good at it. When we had 30, like, I was not good at it, because I'm working on growth plans. I'm working on like bigger picture stuff. And like, I would assign someone a task, and then I'd personally forget about it like 30 minutes later. And of course, then they forget about it. Then no one follows up, and then doesn't get done. And it's a good lesson for anybody who wants to grow, is eventually you can only get so far yourself. Eventually you got to bring in people better than you. And in this case, my guy is 10 times better at running meetings, following up, at delegating, and all that stuff than I am, or my brother is, for that matter. So, we're excited to continue. And he just started like a month ago, 45 days now. So
congrats on that, because a lot of people I talk to in mastermind or private coaching clients of mine, they want to make that key hire. And some of my coaching clients recently have made some key hires like that. And I was posting about that. But, when you said COO, I wanted to dive a little bit deeper in that, because everyone has something in their mind where they think, oh, this is a $50,000, $80,000 a year position, or this is their background. They were director of operations for something else. But like our manager at our district operational manager / COO at Sola, 8 years ago, we were paying him like about 150, 120 to 150 a year. So there's the quality of somebody that you're bringing in. And I know those guys make some really good money, but you're paying for that person. So just want to make sure the listeners understand, when you bring on that second in command, that COO, like, this is a quality person that Brian hired. All right. So you got you and your brother, newly hired COO. Then what do we have?
Then we've got 5 district managers, and each district manager oversees roughly 6 stores. And so they're regionalized. Like, we have, 14 stores in Philly. So we have 2 guys there. We've got 11 in New Jersey. We have 2 over there, and they have 1 up in our other market. And so each one of those then is kind of responsible for their stores, and each store then has, depending on the volume, but, a store manager, they have an assistant manager, and they have 3 to 5 technicians.
So chain of command, you guys are, this is how I'm guessing it works. You guys mostly talk with that COO. That COO is mostly talking with those district operational managers, the district managers, and they are communicating with the store managers. And then that's kind of the level of command. I'm sure there's going to be some bumps in the way in the road, because people are used to talking to you and whatnot, and that might be changing. So tell me where I'm right, tell me where I'm wrong, and tell me what you're doing.
Yeah, that's 100% right. And all of our guys are hands-on. All the stores are pretty close to each other too. So like, our operations manager, even the COO, I mean, he's in the stores at this point, almost every day. And a lot of it is to learn it, to see it, to identify what the problems are, and to start, finding solutions too. So we're, we're a hands-on company too. I mean, we all, that's where the work gets done. So, but yeah,
So
you're right.
what is a district, like what's a day in the life of a district manager? What do they like? What do they
Yeah,
focus
so
on?
it's people. It's a lot of 80% of their time is spent on people issues, whether it's posting jobs, doing interviews, hiring, training our new people that we have on board. Like that's a whole thing. And then in the stores, they're working to really ensure like processes are being followed. Like running a business, whether it's a franchise or not, it's all about consistent execution. And the better you can get at consistency in terms of, in our business, it's how we handle the phone, how we like checked out the car, how do we present the work, do we follow up, like whatever. There's like a 6-step process, whatever it is. And so the better that we can consistently execute that, the more likely we are to have success. And so, their job is to really like observe and see, are we following the process, identify the holes, and then work to fix them. So that's what it looks like in the stores, watching what's going on and fixing gaps in execution.
What's like one of the biggest successes that you had out of these 30 locations? Like, holy cow, that one was like, oh, we dropped 100 grand into this thing over 9 months. Didn't realize that was going to happen. But what, on the opposite side of things, what was like, wow, we pulled this one lever, this happened, and things went really well.
Yeah. We had a location that we bought. It was doing under $1 million, just under $1 million, like 950 or something a year. We bought it with owner financing. We put $50,000 down. So we essentially $50,000 out of pocket. It's like we got the keys to take over. And then we bring in a whole new team. Basically, we try to keep their people, but in this case, it was a dumpster fire. And so we bring in our best manager. We bring in another good tech. We hire some good guys. The next 12 months, we do 1.8 million, like double the sales over literally in the next 12 months. And we reinvested a whole bunch of cash back into the building, get it painted, new lifts, like a bunch of stuff we had to do. And I think we made $350,000 that year out of that location on a $50,000 investment. And so that was my best one. And that store's consistently produces about the same thing every year. It's very consistent. So if they all could be like that, that'd be great. But
what's the long-term plan or the exit plan? If you got private equity that's already in Midas, I think they have over 100 locations. I'm sure there's that one or others that are looking to roll up larger franchisees like you that own 30 to 50 to 60. So what's
it's a question where we've been pondering now for a while. Is like, once you get to a certain size, you kind of become in no man's land, right? Like you're either too big to sell to like a single buyer, or at a certain point we're too small to get like significant private equity interest. And so, we got to kind of decide, hey, do we kind of get a little bit bigger? We get to 40 or 50, then like we can probably command a higher multiple on what it's worth. And then from there, do you like become a platform, which we sell some equity and continue to grow with us still leading it? Do we get completely out? Do we just keep like making money for the next decade? I don't know. We don't really know. A lot of our growth has been recent. It's in 14 months. We went from 12 to 30. And so now it's getting our feet under us, like improve operations. We need to improve our like back office and payment processing, all that stuff. Needs improvement too. But then from there, I'm not sure. We're looking at new markets. We're looking at, where can we go and just buy 5 stores, buy 10 stores. We're also looking within our Philadelphia market. We could probably open up another Philadelphia, New Jersey. We could probably open up another 10 between acquisitions and like new store conversions. And so we're gonna keep growing, and then we'll just kind of see where it goes.
Well, at the same time, you're creating a personal brand. And I'd like to spend a little bit of time on that. One, to grow your personal brand, use my audience to grow your brand. I'm going to use your audience to grow my brand. And it's a win-win for both of us. But I'm doing it more at the franchisor level right now. I was really had a large audience and influence with franchisees, and that's growing more into franchisors and investors. You as a franchisee right now are growing your audience. Probably don't know exactly why, but it's important to have a personal brand, to have a following, to have, and so as a franchisee, why grow a personal brand? Like, where has the benefit been?
Yeah, sure. So a couple different reasons. One, I think that hey, it's fun. It's fun to get on and talk to people and hear their stories. And one of my big things is to like help you inspire growth. Like I believe it's important for me to grow personally, professionally, mindset, financially, all this stuff. And so for me, growth's important. Tony Robbins, like growth equals happiness. And so, I believe in that. And so, a lot of it is, I enjoy helping other people grow. And I believe that people can create a tremendous amount of wealth as a franchisee. And it's something that a lot of people don't talk about. It's either kind of hush hush, they don't want to talk about it, or there's just no one in the space who's really vocal about it. And so I think I think I could own the space, which is kind of a niche that, that's where the riches are, right? As you know, is owning the space. And instead of talking about real estate or syndications and all stuff, like talk about growing as a franchisee. And I think it's powerful. And I think that, the timing is perfect. There's tons of baby boomer franchisees that want to get out and they're willing to own or finance it. They're willing to give good deals. And so for younger people like myself who are in their early 30s or, or early 40s, whatever, like huge opportunity that exists. And I think, I can help a lot of people personally. I think I could have a lot of fun. And you never know like where it goes. I mean, it could be to the point where, we're helping others and getting equity positions to help them grow. I don't really know, but so anyway, that's what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. I have a podcast, Business with Beers. I've had it for almost 100 episodes now. And I'm bringing on.
We had some good guests on there, like Mike. I mean, I don't know. Can we say his name?
I've got a couple books.
Get released for another probably 2 months. So
I got Mike McAllowitz is coming on either when this is launched or soon thereafter of Profit First. I'm trying to get Jay Papasan on from The One Thing. We interacted on Twitter, and I got a soft commitment. I'm working on Cameron Harold. He gave me a soft commitment.
And Cameron's great, man. My audience loves Cameron. Cameron, speaking of personal brand, let's take a pause here. I wouldn't be able to be friends with Cameron today if it wasn't for me growing a personal brand and having a podcast.
100%. Me too. Like, there's no way I could have a conversation with Mike McAllowitz or any of these guys if I was just like, I didn't have a podcast. I didn't have the brand. I didn't have an audience to share a story with. And so like, that's why you do it, right? It's to have these connections, to have this excuse to talk to somebody, and kind of have influence over it. And so, even Cameron, like he's working on a new book about CEO, COO relationships, and he's very active on Facebook and LinkedIn, and I interact with him a lot. He was looking for feedback on his new book. I was able to get my COO to connect and give some feedback, and just through the conversations back and forth, then I you pose the question, and that's how you just work the systems. And so
and they want to do that. When
his book launches, his goal is to get on as many podcasts as he can. If I'm already on the list, he knows me, he seems to like me. I've already helped him a little bit. It'll make for an easy yes. And then you build that, right? Then you can build from Cameron Harold. You can build it to get bigger and bigger names. I'm sure you know this, you do it. So that's all.
John Rulin.
Oh yeah.
So John got on Cameron's radar before John was a big deal because of what John did with gifting him some stuff. And now John's a really big deal out there. So no, that's what's cool. It's like fire, right? It's fire that spreads, and you don't know what direction it is go. You don't know how it's all going to work out, but you just kind of know. And this is what I've heard, and I'm experienced, is the more you do it, as long as you're consistent and as long as you have consistent in your timing and consistent in your message too. And so for me, I could talk about a ton of different things I'm into, but I'm trying to keep as focused as I can on how do you grow within a franchise, right? Because that's the easiest thing for me to talk about. I'm consistent. I build the audience, and then you can expand it to other things, just like you've done with your whole investing thing. It's like you teach people how to make money through franchising. Then now you have all these people who trust you and they have money. They're looking for investments. Then you teach them here's how you invest in syndications. Here's how you invest in, whatever it is. And so anyway, all that's fun and challenging. And like I said, I've made a lot of good friends and connections through it all. So that's why I do it. So talk about being a guest on other people's podcasts. Because sometimes it's easy to get on, sometimes it's not. But I was just talking to my mastermind about this, the franchisees and franchisors. I'm like, at the very least, all of you should be getting on other people's podcasts. And Caleb and I went through our playbook on how we do that. But talk about the importance of being on somebody else's podcast if you did not have your own podcast.
So a lot of it is, it's the relation. I mean, the reason you do it is because the relationship you can create between the guest and the host is really kind of the most valuable thing, and at least in my mind, of podcasts I've been on and then guests that I've had. I mean, I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into deals of guests that I had on, like prior to then I know. And that was the start. We got to know each other over 6 months or a year, and whatever. I like them and I invest money with them. And so for a franchisee, it could be something similar too. Like they could get on a podcast, they could be the host, or it could be someone in the host audience who likes their story and, thinks like there's a lot that relates to them. They could be in the same city. They could find a location that thinks it could be a good fit. And then they, want to do some sort of partnership deal. Like you never know who's listening. You never know what what it could lead to. And so to invest, 45 minutes, an hour of your time, even if you did once a week, but most people aren't going to get on that often, but once a month. I mean, you never know what could happen, and they live forever. Someone Googles your name, and even another franchisee in another part of the country Googles your name, finds that he listens to your podcast. He likes you. He thinks like, wow, I could trust this guy. Like, he seems to know what he's talking about. He's a good operator. He talks about he's wanting to grow. Like, I want to sell my stores. Let me give him a call. Like, you never know where it could go.
Is that a hypothetical or is that actual?
I mean, I've done deals with people who've listened to my podcast, or pending deals, or could be deals with people who listen to. Like, it's all part of like just getting out there in the world, and like no one else is doing it. If no one else in your brand is doing it and you're the only one, you're going to stand out. And so, I know a bunch of guys on Twitter who are like Subway franchisees and like buying up doing the same exact thing I'm doing, buying up Subways, like in Pennsylvania, in other parts of the country. Some of them live remote. Some of the one guy lives in like Louisiana, and he's buying up stores in Pennsylvania. And, if I like pass by one, I see it's for sale, I'm probably going to shoot him a message just because, I know what he does, and he happens to be in my backyard. And so I don't know. I think it's just like, there's cool things that can happen. The bigger you can expand your network, getting on podcasts can help expand your network. So
let's shift gears again. Thanks for that tangent, because I think it's important. Franchisees often don't think, well, maybe I should have a personal brand. Franchisors should absolutely have a personal brand. I think franchisees should too. And so that was a good tangent. Let's get back to, I'd like to spend a little bit of time on structuring and negotiating owner financing. And we don't have to get too detailed into it. I'd love to have you come into the mastermind and speak like in detail, stuff that you wouldn't share in a podcast, behind the scenes on some of this stuff, if you're up for that. Are you?
Yeah, sure. All
right. We'll do that sometime. I have Caleb get that set up, but talk about some of the structure, what you look for in a structure, and how you go about negotiating owner financing. Because and maybe we start out with this. Does everyone have the expectation that they're going to end up doing some owner financing, or do they think it's going to be, some of them have an expectation of an all cash deal?
Yeah, the only all cash deals are one-offs. So like, I think the most we did an all cash deal was 150 grand. So, and at
price
that point
goes down in an all cash deal.
Yeah, price goes down. It's relatively quick. I mean, it's about the same time, honestly. But some of those, yeah, I think we bought ones for 110. I mean, honestly, I did an owner financing for 120 at one point. It wasn't making any money, so the guy wanted it off his hands. So that's what we did. But yeah, so let me back up. So I pitched someone yesterday on this in a group of stores we're chatting about, right? And the way I do it, and once again, part of it's track record. The more you do this, the more you will get comfortable with it, and the easier it will become. Plus, you have the track record that supports the things you're talking about, right? So I get on the phone, I tell them, hey, listen, like, this is how we buy stores. I make it like, this is it. You want us to buy your store. This is how we do it. I said, you become, and you finance the stores for us. So in other words, you become the bank. So instead of us going to the bank and getting a loan and paying principal and interest to the bank, we are going to pay that to you. And so, why would you do this? Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, you're getting interest payments. You're getting monthly cash flow. You're going to have the ability to defer the capital gains tax that you're going to owe on the sale over the life of the loan. You're going to have personal guarantees from us and the company. And, overall, it's going to be, it's going to be very secured because we have a track record of performance. Right. And so that's how I pitch it. And almost, 90% of the time the guys say, like they agree. They nod their heads. They will sometimes give some pushback and saying, oh, well, like then I'm still kind of on the hook. Cause like, if you fail, I'm going to have to come in. Right. But then a lot of these, it's like some of these deals are 5 years a note. Some of them, the bigger deals could be, my biggest ones, I think 13 years. So it's kind of this question of, hey, over the next, 5 to 10 years, like for us to fail, like that'd be pretty catastrophic. Like this isn't a 30-year mortgage, like where like the world could change. I mean, we're talking, a couple years here. And so that usually helps. And then the track record. So that's how I convince people to initially to get it done. I also tell them, if they go through an SBA, in a government loan, they're gonna have to submit a bunch of tax returns and audited financials, and like the process is going to take a long time, and it's not going to be the most pleasant for either of us. And so with the owner financing deals, it's like can be quick, it can be easy. I mean, I've never asked for a tax return. I don't really care about it, right? And so anyway, that's you paint the picture there, and then we're going to talk about how we do it. And so for us, we determine evaluation. Yeah, so whatever it is, 2.5 times. 3 times, like 3.5. Honestly, like if the terms are good, like I'll pay a higher multiple, right? Mm-hmm. Because how we break it down is into 3 items. We look at down payment, monthly payment, and number of months. And so when we negotiate, those 3 items are what we negotiate on. So for like, the bigger deals we've done, let's say, it was $200,000 down. We'll pay $10,000 a month, and we'll do 80 months. So then you kind of add up all the numbers, and you get to $1 million, right? And so then that's how we then negotiate. And then they'll come back and say, okay, well, I want $250,000 down, or I want whatever, $8,000 a month or $12,000 a month. Like we negotiate off of those 3 numbers: down payment, monthly payment, and number of months. Once we agree on those 3 numbers, then we back into what the purchase price would be, and we back into what the interest rate would be on the loan, whether it's 2.7 or 6.8, or it doesn't actually, I mean, it matters, but it doesn't really matter because the principal and the interest, like none of that's changing, or the payment's not changing. It's just the principal and interest breakdown. So anyway, that's how we kick it off.
Do you kind of share that with them? Like, I mean, obviously it's on the podcast. I'm sure I'm not the first podcast that they listen,
we're totally, this is like
this is transparent. So there's and that's one of the benefits of you just having a podcast, because people will hear you talk about it. So they know that they're not getting sold when you are talking about it to them in a private negotiation. So I love that. What about the personal guarantee on real estate? How does that come into play?
So then you get into like the nitty gritty, the terms, right, of behind the scenes. And so, our goal is to give as minimal collateral as possible, right? Their goal is to get maximum collateral as possible. So you meet somewhere in between. We personal guarantee, my brother and I, like almost all the notes. I think I have one that they didn't ask for it. You obviously have a corporate guarantee. So the entity that is buying it, for us, we have 4 different entities. Each entity, is doing, millions of dollars within it. So, even if like, that one, like the entity has to guarantee, it's not the single store, it's the group. And so that kind of helps, especially if you have a larger entity. If you were buying everything in one-off locations, I mean, for the seller, it's kind of meaningless. Like they would ask for the guarantee from multiple entities. So that's something they can do. But we don't
the leases, like on the lease, like, do these owners own these locations, or do they lease these locations from?
So a lot of them are leased through Midas. So like, does
Midas own,
correct,
or lease the real estate, and then they lease it to you?
Correct. Yeah. There's 3 different ways that can happen. Okay. One, we can own the real estate directly, which we own a couple, 7 of them. You could have a direct third-party lease, so me to the landlord, or Midas could own the property and lease it directly to you. Or I guess there's a 4th option, which is Midas has a lease with a third party and then subleases it to us. But Midas is on the head lease and we're on the sublease. Okay. And so, like kind of we talked about, real estate's it's valuable, and it's Midas wants to control it, because over the years, what has happened is there's guys who've owned all their real estate, and then they sold out to another brand, and then they literally will lose an entire market of locations because they couldn't control it. And so, they own as many as they can. They almost never sell them. Once in a while, we can get off the the marked up lease, like the sublease. Once in a while, they'll let us get off that and go direct to a landlord. So in many cases, I'm not buying the real estate. We're only buying the business. We take over the existing lease. Obviously, I'm personally guaranteeing the lease as well.
Attention franchisors, if you are not bringing in many of the right franchisees, sales are slow. It's stealing too much of your time as a founder trying to award franchises to the right franchisee. There's a better way to do it. That's why I started the Franchise Sales Mentor. If you want to have access to the information, the techniques, the ways that the best franchise sales organizations are awarding franchisees, then you might want to check out the Franchise Sales Mentor. The reasons that franchisors join is because they want access. They want access to my Rolodex. They want access to my connections. They want access to shortcut both short-term and long-term success to increase enterprise value to their brand. You've done these performance groups and, early on / masterminds, and you get to know some of the other top performers. How do you get into those groups to begin with? What advice would you give people to become known in some of these, in their own franchise system?
Yeah. So I think, if you want to grow within a franchise, being known, liked, and trusted are like, the classic 3 things, especially if you want to get owner finance deals, which I think, would be the plan. And so how you get known is a couple different ways. Number one is, you actively participate, you show up to all the regional meetings, right? You go to the conferences, a lot of franchises have what are called franchise advisory committees, where they have a group of franchisees and they meet, on a quarterly basis with the franchisor, and they discuss, operational problems and issues and, kind of the future of where they're going. And so, if you can get onto these committees and if you can, contribute and, be an active member, like you will get selected and you can participate, and that helps kind of get your name out there. Same for the committees. Like you learn who the good producers are, you make friends with them. And then if there's currently something like that, like the performance group, you try to get an invite. If something like that doesn't exist, you create it, right? You can create your own mastermind of guys that you like from around the country. In my case, if I want to do it, I'd pick all the guys who have 10 locations or more. And I would just say, hey, we can meet in Philadelphia. Like, it'd be easy for me if I'm the one doing it, and come here. And, you get a hotel room, or you get one of your vendors. In our case, I think it was our advertising vendor, which was Maroc back in the day. And they would just give us their conference floor for 2 days to meet in. Right. And then you get the vendors to come in, and they're paying for dinners out. Like, it could be totally free except for travel and hotel, if you do it right and you leverage relationships for the vendors who want your business. So you could totally put it on yourself in person. We've put it on virtual. So like during COVID, I was hosting, Midas franchisee Zoom calls where I had 80 or so Midas franchisees on a live Zoom call where we would talk about a specific topic, whether it's like how to increase gross profit or tires or car count or phones or whatever I decided we were to talk about. I also did ones where I interviewed a successful franchisee and, their history and just all the questions you're asking me, that kind of thing. And so, as the host, right, the spotlight's on you. That helps people get to know you, get to like you, get to, share your ideas. And obviously as the guest you have, helps. Plus, like, you're helping the system grow as well. So anyhow, lots of things you can do. You just got to be creative and think outside the box. And the goal is just to get a whole bunch of people in the room and, you kind of lead it and organize it. And then you let, the room do the work. So just like
I'm smiling, I'm laughing inside because I wish people understood the things that you are saying is the playbook to build a personal brand. Yep. And he's giving benefits. Like, when you organize this stuff, there's friends of mine that have the most amazing speakers, John Maxwell, you name it. They host the event. They get time with John. They get time with these different people. From a franchisee standpoint, you host the event, you get time with the people that you want to there, the speakers, the vendors, the bigger franchisees, the people that you want to learn from. You don't need to be the biggest and the best to actually do that within your own brand. So, and I know franchisees that are in my mastermind that have started their own mastermind and in their brand. And they're like, hey, Erik, who could I get to speak? And I'm helping them do that. They don't pay me for that. I do it because we all help each other. So like, I'm smiling when you're saying what you're doing and why you're doing it. Yep. I'm like, man, you've got the playbook. I love what you're doing, Brian. How do people find you?
Yeah, so I'm active on Twitter, Brian Beers, Brian with an I. They can find me there. They can go to brianbeers.com. I have a newsletter that I occasionally write for, just about building income streams and business with beers on any podcast platform. Every week, chatting with business owners about growing their business and kind of where they invest their money once they grow it. So
Awesome. Thanks for your time, man.
cool. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Franchise Secrets Podcast. Whether you're watching or listening, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to whatever channel you're listening on. If you want my help with anything from buying a franchise to franchising your business, please visit franchisesecrets.com.